All right, good morning, History 2145, and welcome to week 9. So, this week, we're going to make this transition to understanding those factors that contributed to the rise of the new right in the late 1970s and early 1980s in this country. And so, in doing that, I encourage you to kind of reflect back a couple weeks to, I believe, week 6, when we talked about the effects of Vietnam and the Watergate scandal on not just the domestic, not just the foreign, but also the political history. So, certainly, Vietnam was instrumental in kind of creating a stronger rift in this country with regards to the political spectrum, in the sense that we saw the rise of the new left, kind of student radicals that wanted to, really push the Democratic Party away from its commitment to the Vietnam War. Certainly, we saw the Vietnam War having a devastating effect on President Johnson's decision not to run, and as a result, the rise of Nixon. And very quickly, it became very apparent during the Nixon administration that this benevolence that we put behind our belief in our democracy could easily have been corrupted. And the Watergate scandal very quickly demonstrated that in the halls of Washington, D.C., what the media portrays, or what we believe the truth was, could be shadowed by political power. And so the Watergate scandal and the effort by those Washington Post journalists to uncover that scandal really kind of pulled the curtain aside and showed us as Americans just how corrupt the government could be. Make things worse, when Gerald Ford takes over the presidency, pardoning Nixon basically demonstrated Americans' reason for losing faith in our politics. And so as such, right, the post-Ford era with Jimmy Carter marked a shift of the belief in a candidate whom is not a Washington insider, who is not, super deep into politics, and he is an evangelical Southern Democrat who, unfortunately, due to context and also leadership, may not have had the most successful presidency. So what we see is, in the background of all of this, the new right beginning to grow its influence from the late 1960s and onward in the American Sun Belt, really centered around very conservative beliefs, very conservative fiscal policy, very conservative social policy, all rooted in a very deep commitment to evangelical Christianity. Therefore, when Reagan starts to rise as a political star in California and achieving his place as president in 1980, he is representative of that growing new right movement. So when we look at the Reagan presidency, it's kind of a mixed bag. Certainly, there is significant strides in the realm of foreign policy, with kind of returning back to the hawkish days of the Cold War, re-upping the arms race. But that's also an era of scandal, with the Iran-Contra affair, and with attacks against Libya, and then domestic, very controversial economics that initially caused a recession, but eventually started to change, deregulation, etc. So, looking at your schedule this week, we see that you've got reading from 31.1, discussion 8, quiz 8, and then start on that new study guide so that you are ready for the second exam in many weeks. As always, I'm here if you have any questions.